Welcome everyone to Coin New Yen Review channel. Before we dive into today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share so more people can discover us. Enjoy the show. The tale has reached its end. Please adjust your posture as you linger in wait. A riveting story is about to unfold. What do you do when your wife suddenly strikes it rich? Divorce her at once. Hesitate for a second and you've already lost. On the day Liu Ryan became Jiangsheng's richest, I took more than half of his fortune and walked away free. His eyes burned red as he gripped my throat, Jiboter. My heart hardened with ruthless resolve. The pig I'd fattened for a decade was finally ready to slaughter. Who could fathom this twisted joy? I must be the first man to want a divorce because his wife got rich. No other man would dare to dream of such a thing. The reason was simple. I discovered Liu Ryan's betrayal. She stood but a step away from truly crossing the line. After the fleeting shock and sorrow, I found my peace again. 5 years ago, when her company secured its first big deal, her ambition soared, growing ever grander. I had foreseen this day would come. They say men turn wicked when they gain wealth, but don't women do the same? Liu Ryan could never suspect that when she spoke with Yanchuan about her infidelity. I stood outside the study, coffee in hand, listening. Oh, great beauty, Liu. That Meijibo from the television station seems quite charming. What were my thoughts on it? Liu Ryan casually remarked it felt a bit cruel. Yet she still gifted him a Maserati. Isn't that a reckless way to spend money? My fingers twitched. My heart spun into a hollow void. A Maserati, what a lavish gesture. Then I heard Liu Ryan's faintly weary voice. It's just a car, nothing more. Shall I kiss him on your behalf then? Perhaps one day you'll change your mind. Do as you please. The topic of Meijibo ended there. They moved on to discuss business ventures, as if it were merely women chatting over afternoon tea, trading idle gossip of love and fleeting fancies. It hardly seemed to matter. That coffee cup poisoned my soul, keeping my eyes wide open until dawn. And the irony of it all, back when we married, we were too poor for a proper wedding. Now Liu Ryan was planning a grand ceremony for me. She harbored guilt toward me, yet it didn't stop her from wooing other men. The heart of man is a fickle thing. The past is too painful to bear. Divorce was inevitable and it had to happen fast. Change was already brewing. I met with lawyer Joe He at a cafe. By chance, the television in the hall was airing Meijibo's financial talk show. It dawned on me. Liu Ryan likely met him through that very program. The young charismatic host spoke with elegance, his words sharp and wise, flowing effortlessly. Even before a woman as unattainable as her, he showed no trace of unease. Joe He, my old classmate, had long made a name as a divorce lawyer. Noticing my gaze fixed on the screen, he teased with a smile, Jiboter. That Meijibo looks a bit like you. My temper flared instantly. I snapped, where's the resemblance? Meijibo's a soft whining pup. I'm a real man. Joe He blinked, puzzled. Everyone who knows you says so. Even at our class reunion they mentioned it. My brow twitched and I scoffed. That just won't do. I had no mood to discuss Meijibo. I cut to the chase, telling him I wanted to divorce Liu Ryan. He gasped, you're joking, right? You finally made it big. And now you want a divorce. Do I seem like someone who jokes about marriage? I rolled my eyes. Our group of classmates witnessed how resolutely I stood by Liu Ryan when her company teetered on bankruptcy. No wonder Joe He was shocked. You married her at her poorest, most desperate moment. And now at her richest, you're leaving her. Jiboda, you've got some spine. I replied slowly, so what? Back then I could handle that poor woman. But Jiangsheng's richest lady, now don't you think I can? You fought so many divorce cases. I thought you'd understand best the darkness and ugliness of human nature. Isn't it you lawyers who see it clearest? Especially divorce lawyers. Joe He was speechless for a long while. Then smacking his lips, he viped. You're serious? Has she cheated? Just one step shy of it and you're already sentencing her. Isn't that a bit harsh? I snorted, if I'm not harsh now, shall be the one to strike first. Joe He, you tell me. In your cases, do people split over love or over guilt? Once her new lover takes her place, how much I get depends on their whim. I refuse to be the passive one. Joe, he was stunned Jiboda. Your calmness terrifies me. My calm was forged over 5 years of quiet endurance. Besides maid Jibo, her male secretary Liu Guan also had his eyes on her. I couldn't recall exactly which day, but when I went to have lunch with Liu Ryan, through a slightly ajar door, I saw Liu Guan zipping up her dress, then carefully pulling out a warm bowl of sobering soup. Liu Guan was always fawning over her. She always brushed him off, but that day the lunchbox the driver brought home contained the sobering soup I'd made untouched. Even the knot I tied remained intact. A long ash fell from my cigarette onto my fingertip. Joe, he looked at me with deep emotion. Jiboda, I should send my clients to learn from you. I took a drag, exhaling slowly. Smiling, I said, it's no use. They lack the resolve and the ruthlessness. Unwilling to let such a remarkable wife go to another, thinking they're the exception who can tame her. Until the final moment when love is torn apart, they can't bring themselves to act. That's why greed is a trap. Wanting both money and the person leads to losing everything. Indifferent. Because no one plans their escape from marriage like I do. Of course the marriage must end. But before it does, as Liu Ryan's husband, I must secure a solid foundation. At the dinner table that evening, I deliberately played Meijibo's show as background. The episode featuring Liu Ryan. She touched her face asking how. You thought I looked beautiful that day. Her performance was flawless. Not a hint of guilt. I almost believed the Maserati was just a toy. Liu Ryan if got my eye on a car. She shrugged surprised I liked cars now. Which one, she asked, offering to go with me to pick it up. I stared at her calmly. A Maserati Levante, I said, and her smile faded. She gave me a probing look. Didn't you always prefer Land Rovers? I tapped the table. Fine, a Land Rover then, as long as it's pricier than a Maserati. Not long after I crossed paths with Meijibo, his Maserati collided with my Land Rover Range Rover. It was no accident, he planned it. His car didn't hold up well. Meijibo stood helplessly by his vehicle, glaring bitterly at my car's hood. The crash of 2 luxury cars drew a crowd. The police arrived swiftly. Sir, the footage shows you made an illegal U-turn. You're fully at fault. Meijibo looked heartbroken at his crumpled front door. Both headlights shattered. The bumper twisted. Couldn't you have let me pass? I was ready to take the points. Now both cars need repairs. His eyes brimmed with tears. A pitiful, aggrieved look spread across his face. His entitled demeanor left the officer dumbfounded. A hot-tempered driver nearby couldn't hold back. You're used to people yielding to you, but that's a Land Rover Range Rover. Afraid of nothing. Justice felt sweeter than any spell. Having seen enough drama, I leisurely stepped out of my car. Meijibo's accusations hit me like a wave. Why were you dawdling on the road? Is this a mall? I tried to pass, but you wouldn't let me. Were you blocking me on purpose? I was in a hurry, no choice. I floored the gas. His words stopped short when he saw me. His face turned ashen. I smirked. With such a fine car, you still rush to work for money. Seems a Maserati can't change fate. Meijibo clenched his teeth. His face darkened silent before getting back in his car. He told the officer to wrap it up. I'll pay, he said. The officer nodded, quickly directing traffic to clear. I watched his retreating figure thoughtfully. A cold laugh escaped me. I was eager to divorce, but Meijibo seemed even more impatient. Perhaps he was bitter about the crash. A few days later, a video came from Yinchuan's phone. It showed a mahjong table. Liu Ryan sat close to Meijibo, gesturing boldly as if commanding the game. Meijibo glanced at her. Kuing's sister, which tile should I play? My palms sweated. Liu Ryan gave him a doting look, saying casually, if you lose, it's on me. The table erupted in laughter as Meijibo reached for a tile. His bangs kept falling over his eyes. Liu Ryan gently tucked them back with care. Play well. My trembling fingers crushed the phone. I threw it onto the bed. A sour aching pain surged within me. I stumbled unsteady. Rage boiled up. My hands gripped the table tightly, forcing myself to stay calm. If her affair wasn't with Meijibo, I might have let her go gracefully. Not long after the video arrived, Yinchuan called frantic. He pleaded, brother, I'm sorry. I can't take the video back. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't me who sent it. Please don't tell Liu Ryan. I replied flatly, I know it wasn't you. He sighed in relief, begging me not to overthink. Liu Ryan's feelings for you are clear. It was just social banter. I'd cheat 100 times before she would. So you're trying to drag her down? He stammered, caught off guard. You're right, my mistake. I hung up disinterested. His honeyed words held no weight. But one thing he said rang true. He wouldn't dare send me such a video. Only someone like Meijibo, bred in privilege, would have the gall to do it. Yinchuan's earlier words, "I'll kiss him for you," proved he too was smitten with Meijibo. But out of loyalty to Liu Ryan, he held back. For Meijibo to get Yinchuan's phone wouldn't be hard. I called Joe-hee asking how things were going. A divorce agreement in a week, I said. We're old classmates. I'm giving you time to cool off. If I don't have it by tomorrow, I'll find someone else. Fine, Fine. It was time to confront Liu Ryan. I stepped into the CEO's office and bluntly stated, President Liu, I need you to do something for me. Liu Ryan leaned on her desk, fingers interlaced. Her gaze sharp, she said, You're my husband. Just tell me what you need. I leaned closer, flashing a cold smile. Good. I want one thing. What? I said slowly, a Maserati. Her eyes widened, stunned. Her expression shifted. We locked eyes for seconds, neither yielding. Finally, she coaxed Boater. It's not a big deal. It's just pocket change. She looked at me as if I were being petty. You're not usually so small-minded. I didn't bother arguing. Can you get it back, President Liu? Her gaze pierced me, as if weighing the truth in my words. I stared back, unflinching. She bit her lip, rubbed her brow, and finally said, Fine. Tomorrow it's yours. It was the first time I didn't give Liu Ryan face, but it didn't matter. My goal was achieved. Thank you, I said with a faint smile, turning sharply to leave. As my hand gripped the doorknob, Liu Ryan's voice called out, Boater, are you jealous? I replied ambiguously, you could say that. As I shut the door, the sound of objects crashing to the floor echoed, followed by a heavy fist slamming the desk. A loud thud rang out. Outside, her secretary Liu Guan looked at me startled. I gave a slight smile and stepped into the elevator. This was perfect. Once the decision was made, why pretend otherwise? With the Maserati keys in hand, I headed straight to the television station, meeting Meijibo at the cafe downstairs. Meijibo arrived late, his appearance haggard. Losing a gift must sting. Shen, have a seat. I gestured lightly. His eyes locked onto the car keys beside my coffee cup. His pupils contracted. He sat down heavily, sneering at me. Is Mr. Boda here to gloat? He flicked his bangs. Defiant, he looked at me. If President Liu really took it back, for a woman of her status to reclaim a gift, there'll be an even grander replacement. I gazed at him calmly. That much is obvious, but it doesn't matter. And by doing this, Mr. Boater, you've made Sister lose face. I waited for him to finish, then slowly slid the car keys toward him. Her face means nothing to me. A Maserati isn't worth my boasting, Mr. MEI. I took it back just to. I paused, watching his wary expression. I chuckled softly. I only wanted to hand it to you myself. His eyes shot to mine. What do you mean? I said deliberately, you can have what you want, but you can't steal it, understand? My dear little brother. His face turned deathly pale. Coffee spilled from the cup in his trembling hand. He set it down quickly. I watched him with a cold smirk. I stood like a bristling hedgehog. Indeed, Meijibo was my half-brother. It had been 20 years since we last met, so we both pretended not to know each other. In truth, the moment I heard Meijibo's name, I knew it was him. At the crash site, Meijibo recognized me instantly. His target was Liu Ryan. How could he not have investigated me? He just hadn't secured his place yet, so he chose to stay silent. Knowing my stepmother's cunning and schemes, I wasn't surprised by any of this. Her influence lingered in his actions, a twisted game of power and deceit. Yet I stood firm, unshaken, ready to end this chapter and write my own. The keys on the table gleamed, a symbol of my resolve. Meijibo's silence spoke volumes. He knew the game had shifted. I held the upper hand. Liu Ryan's world was unraveling, and I was the one pulling the threads. No one could stop me now, not even the ghosts of our shared past. My purpose was finally achieved. Meijibo with a pitiful look called me brother. I'm sorry, I truly didn't know Liu Ryan was my sister-in-law. How could I ever let him have his way? Divorce might let Meijibo taste Liu Ryan's favor, but my own incompetence was not the cause. He imagined himself like Zhongli, treating me the way she once treated my mother. That was impossible. Thanks to that mother and son, I learned a truth from childhood. Never give anyone the chance to catch you off guard. I would end this marriage, but you will never be Liu Ryan's husband. That was one of my conditions for divorce. I sneered coldly, watching Meijibo's face turn pale inch by inch. I continued to mock, of course. You could choose to be her secret lover. Liu Ryan might spend money on you, but that would disappoint Zhongli, wouldn't it? Zhongli always had high hopes for you, surely wanting you to surpass her. A mere lover, they'd never settle for that. Meijibo's shock hadn't even settled before I shoved him back into the abyss. He bit his lip, trembling, and asked, brother, do you hate me that much? Back then I was innocent too. I watched his performance with cold detachment. Then he tried to play the family card. Father has felt guilty about you all these years. He could never reach you. What happened between my mom and your aunt? I don't know what to say, but we're different. We're brothers by blood. I remained unmoved, sneering Meijibo. Spare me your act. Losing once in life was enough for me. Meijibo's expression shifted, perhaps stunned that I was so unyielding. So he dropped the pretense. Liu Ryan told me, your marriage hasn't been happy these past years. If you're the one unsatisfied, she's actually exhausted being with you. True, but you've lost your chance. I stood tall and ended the conversation, grabbing my bag to leave. Meijibo shouted after me, brother, if I can make you divorce, I haven't lost. Don't flatter yourself. You're merely a spark for my divorce. Nothing more, I tossed out, lightly walking away without a second thought. Back home I started a cold war with Liu Ryan. Of course it was about the atmosphere. Of all people, she chose my stepmother's son. If divorce was coming, I couldn't keep pretending we were a loving couple. I needed some pretext. The wedding planner came to discuss arrangements. I halted the project outright, telling them I'd contact them with new ideas. Who'd want an outdated wedding now? That night I had a nightmare. Back when I was still called Shenboder, 3 years old, Meijibo's mother Zhongli was my father's secretary, desperate to climb the social ladder. That day she stormed into our home with a paternity test, pregnant, proclaiming it was a boy. The young master couldn't be left to wander. She rose by her son's claim, her attitude brazen. My mother, though she had me, a housewife worn by years of devotion, was no match for a seasoned workplace schemer. My father clutched that paternity test like a treasure, unashamed. Instead, he told Zhongli to stay calm and ordered my mother to leave. My mother fainted from rage. In the end, my grandmother stepped in to mediate. She wasn't someone my father could easily fool, soothing Zhongli while steadying my mother Huaner. Men with money all stray. Those shameless women are nothing. You bore me, Bodo, no one can shake you. To be fair, my grandmother was decent to me, her eldest grandson. My mother was swayed by her words, mostly because she had no job, having sacrificed everything for my father and our home. Divorce frightened her. She feared losing custody of me. But Zhongli only stayed quiet for a while before stirring trouble again. After my grandmother passed from illness, she grew even more brazen, boasting everywhere that she carried my father's child, gripping his weakness tightly. As she burrowed deeper, treating the company as her own, she urged my father to transfer assets, claiming it was for their son's future. Giving anything to my mother would only end up in another man's hands. My father was brainwashed by Zhongli and forced through a brutal divorce. My mother left with nothing, unable to take me with her. Because she had no income, I was naturally awarded to my father. From 3 to 8 for 5 whole years, Zhongli became my lifelong nightmare. In that house, I lived worse than a servant. After Zhongli gave birth to Meijibo, her figure changed. My father began wandering among flowers again, making my days even harder. Zhang Li took out her resentment toward my father on beating and scolding me without end, or locking me away as punishment. Because of that childhood trauma, I thought I'd never marry, until I met Liu Ryan. Now Mei Jibo wanted to repeat the last generation's story. Did he ask for my consent? I wouldn't end up like my mother, left with nothing. Liu Ryan heard the wedding was cancelled and came to confront me. I handed her the divorce agreement saying let's divorce. Liu Ryan shot to her feet. Jibo, have you lost your mind? I looked at her calmly. You know I haven't. These years, haven't you long known if had this thought? Her chest heaved violently. She paced the room, hands on hips. Why? Because of Mei Jibo. Stop being unreasonable. I know Hayes, my brother-in-law. I slammed the divorce agreement in her face. You know nothing. If you knew, you wouldn't have done this, I roared. My voice twisted and trembling. Liu Ryan, how could I not know? Just because you're rich, you think you're above it all. What are you trying to do? The edge of the paper cut her face, leaving streaks of blood. She stared at me stunned, as if she never expected such a reaction. After a long pause, she came over, wrapping me tightly in her arms. I only wanted you to reconcile with your family. I was still hesitating whether to do it, and you already knew. My hardened armor crumbled in that moment. Fierce grief made tears fall in heavy drops, silently soaking her shoulder. Liu Ryan, you know nothing. I said I know. 5 years ago you saw a therapist. I know everything. Liu Ryan gripped my shoulders tightly, her voice restrained yet heavy with pain. I murmured, Liu Ryan, how dare you? Have you felt my pain? How dare you play my savior? That family wish they'd die. Don't you know I'm their victim? And so are you. Why should I reconcile with them? Are they worthy? Liu Ryan wiped my tears. I swear, Jibo, I've never betrayed you. I gave Mei Jibo the car because Yinchuan was pursuing him. You know how fickle he is. Hey, still your brother. I shoved her away. Whether she saw Mei Jibo only as a brother-in-law, I didn't want to dig deeper. But Mei Jibo's ambition to rise was clear as day. It doesn't matter anymore. Liu Ryan signed it. When we married, we agreed, if one day this relationship made either of us uncomfortable, we'd let the other go. She shouted helplessly, Jibo. I said wearily, I know the company's at a critical stage. We won't split it. I just want shares. And Liu Ryan's husband cannot be Mei Jibo. Those are my only conditions. Jibo, do you think this is fair? Liu Ryan flung the divorce agreement aside. She lunged forward. Her bloodshot eyes locked on me, her hands strangling my throat, pinning me against the wall. What did I do wrong to deserve such cruelty? Liu Ryan, I don't want to test human nature. You'll thank me later. She stared at me for a long moment, then buried her head in my chest. Like a wounded beast, she whispered, Boder, must it come to this? Please, President Liu, let me go, I said. She glared at me fiercely. I met her gaze with calm defiance. Then Liu Ryan shoved me away, turned and signed her name with swift strokes. Looking at me, she said, you're something else, Jibo. The day we finalized the divorce, I went to my mother's for dinner, since she gained a livelihood at my age 8, and fought to bring me to her side. We'd been each other's only family. For my sake, she never remarried. Seeing me arrive alone, she wondered why I didn't bring Liu Ryan. I pressed the keys and admitted we were divorcing. This meal might not go down well, so I said Liu Ryan had a business engagement. My mother nodded, urging us to have a child soon. She gripped my hand tightly, earnestly saying, Boder, is Liu Ryan avoiding pregnancy? You used to say it wasn't the right time. Now she can't make excuses. Seeing my mother's anxious, fearful look, I suddenly realized, if I continued my marriage with Liu Ryan, I might become like my mother, insecure, desperate for a child to anchor me. I replied flatly. No one said no, nor did anyone say yes. Let it be. Thinking back, in all our years of marriage, Liu Ryan and I discussed children only once. That one time, in a cramped rental apartment, she held me tightly, voice restrained, promising to be the perfect wife. I don't have time to have a child now. Even if I did, I couldn't care for it. I'd only burden you with it. I couldn't bear to add to your load. I thought it over. nodding in understanding. Back then she was still tender, scratching her nose shyly. If my business fails, at least you'd still have options. I was furious. Grabbing her ear, I scolded, fine. Liu Ryan, who swore never to part to grow old together. You're at rock bottom now. Should I choose again? She raised her hands begging for mercy. I admitted I was wrong, then kissed me deeply. You know what I mean, anything's fine, but I can't let you suffer. I laughed and cried, hugging her. I'm not suffering. I won't be the downtrodden spouse. Even if you succeed, I won't suffer. She nodded solemnly. No wonder I chose you. But in the end, she let me suffer. 5 years ago, the first spark of divorce came from Liu Ryan's partner, Ms. Chen. Their company was just taking off, securing a major investment, no less than a windfall. Ms. Chen was the first to stir, keeping a young lover on the side, eager to cash out her shares and live freely. As partners, I got along well with Ms. Chen's husband, Mr. Su. During those startup years, Mr. Su noted I didn't work at the company, instead hosting light entertainment shows on the radio. He teased brother Jiboder. I've never seen someone so carefree. Doesn't your company need help? I declined. My wife's decisive and driven. I'd only get in her way. Aren't you afraid as the company grows, Liu Ryan might forget your worth? He urged me to make my presence felt, to secure my place as the man of the house. I brushed it off, saying I didn't mind her poverty. If she betrayed me, I wouldn't grovel. I was truly at ease. My childhood made me despise the martyr-like role of sacrifice, toiling thanklessly only to lose everything. I'd lost trust in marriage long ago. If not for Liu Ryan, I'd never have married. Besides, I told myself not to pressure her, not to nag her, not to demand a child. Letting her serve was my greatest support. A drum needs no heavy strike. Liu Ryan wasn't a woman who needed a man's help to succeed. Mr. Su shook his head helplessly, saying, Brother Jiboder, you're too young, you don't understand. You'll see in time. I only smiled, knowing in marriage only you can give yourself security. I just wanted fewer grievances. When divorce came, those were the bloody lessons. From Zhongli and my mother's story, I hadn't yet considered divorce until Miss Chen's affair became public knowledge. Miss Chen and Mr. Su, once a couple who shared hardships, faced off in court. Miss Chen's lover, like Zhongli, refused to let her split the assets they'd long been guarding against Mr. Su. First, Miss Chen cashed out. Then the business failed. Liu Ryan was begged by Miss Chen to mediate. She was helpless too, telling me Miss Chen was transferring marital assets. Mr. Su reacted too slowly. Her affair had shown signs early on, but Mr. Su caught up in business. Forgot a woman at her peak is like a tiger. On the day of the verdict, Liu Ryan and I were there. Mr. Su in court tore into her with anguish, railing about how much he sacrificed for his wife, calling her an ungrateful wretch. But it was futile. His words weren't evidence. They gained him no advantage, no matter how hard he fought. A woman who no longer loved him left him only scraps from her fingers. After the trial, he came to me haggard, saying, Brother Z, I'm ashamed to face you. Well, she still loves you. Get out early. Don't wait until even guilt is gone and only schemes remain. With his meager share of assets, he vanished from Jiangshang. The partner and her handsome young lover formed a new family, living carefree. For a while, I was depressed, sinking into gloom. Liu Ryan took time to travel abroad with me. On the plane, we talked heart to heart. Boda we both knew long ago. Miss Chen's heart wasn't with Mr. Su, didn't we? So you think Miss Chen was right to do it? I asked, and Liu Ryan rubbed her brow wearily. Boda, that's not what I mean. I only meant we saw it coming. Her heart was elsewhere, and you think that justifies it? I pressed my voice heavy with exhaustion. Liu Ryan sighed. Boda, I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying life moves on. Matters of the heart defy judgment. Ms. Chen's asset transfers were all legal. That's when I realized Liu Ryan had transformed into a shrewd, ruthless businesswoman. What was I worried about Boda? That I'd end up like Miss Chen. Before we disembarked, she playfully pinched my cheek. I seized the moment to ask yes. I feared she'd stop loving me. and leave me with nothing. She nestled close in my arms, whispering softly, "That would never happen. My husband would never stop loving me." Or was it that she'd never leave me penniless? I didn't ask, only murmured, "Good. Then I'll leave you when you love me most, taking both your love and your money." Liu Ryan gazed at me indulgently. "Fine. It's all yours, so stop being unhappy, all right?" "All right," I replied loudly, and in that moment I decided, if that day ever came, I'd be the one to turn away first. And I finally did. By the time I finished recalling this, dinner was over. I prepared to confess to my mother that I divorced. As she cleared the dishes, she scolded me, exasperated. "Ignoring elders' wisdom leads to ruin right before your eyes. Having a child should be your priority, Mom." Back then, that man rose to success. And even with me, you gained nothing. My mother's face paled instantly. Her lips trembled. My fingers shook as I whispered, "Mom, I'm sorry." She stared at me for a moment, wiping her tears, saying it was she who failed me. "Just know what you're doing." "I know better than anyone, Mom. I'm divorced. No need to worry about this anymore." I showed her the divorce certificate. She stared at me stunned. Snatching it, her body swayed. Pointing at me, she said, "Jiboda, are you trying to kill me? Divorcee, you're really something. Liu Ryan spoiled you, and you became reckless." I gave a hollow laugh. "Mom, when she stops spoiling me, it'll be too late." My mother pounded her chest, wailing. I opened a bottle of wine. "Why are you crying? I'm luckier than you." She gave me more than half her fortune. "So are you satisfied?" I nodded yes. "I'm very satisfied." Joe, he was pleased with me too. This divorce case had become his crowning achievement. Once the news broke tomorrow, his reputation would soar. My mother stared at me with regret. "Can't you two start over?" I knew she always liked Liu Ryan as a daughter-in-law, but she couldn't understand. A woman at the pinnacle can't see those beside her. "Mom, do you know, after the divorce I sleep better." She seemed to realize something. Tears streaming, she hugged me tightly. "Jiboda, it's my fault for making you distrust marriage." I teased with a smile, "Mom, it's not about that. It's just these years of wealth. I've seen too much. Either rich wives take lovers, ending up like M are so pitiful and broken, or couples tacitly play their own games, disliking each other, sharing a bed but dreaming apart, no other outcome." My mother hugged me, crying, "Jiboda, Liu Ryan isn't like that. Can't you trust her?" I shook my head. "Mom, you think Jiangsheng's richest is Liu Ryan's end. It's not. I believe in her talent and ability more than any. Her future is so bright I dare not look. My childhood did affect me, but I'm grateful to you, Mom. Because of your tragedy, I've always protected myself in love, never giving my all, never letting myself be vulnerable. 10 years of marriage. I never suffered with Liu Ryan, never faced hardship. Now these shares alone will let me live freely forever. Nothing feels safer than money. No longer living under the shadow of being her husband, I packed my bags and traveled abroad, basking in the sun by the azure sea. Unexpectedly, that deadbeat father called. "Jiboda, you're divorced. Want to join my company? I'm old. The company will be you and your brothers." I laughed mockingly. "Not old, or just senile. Has the MEI family long fallen? Otherwise, someone wouldn't be thrilled over a Maserati." A violent cough came through the phone. Then Zhongli took over. "Jiboda, don't get cocky. My son will win Liu Ryan. Hell Mary May Jibo. Zhongli, you're as shameless as ever." Old me scolding voice cut in. "A woman too disgraceful for the stage. Get out, whoa, brothers fighting over one woman. Have you no shame? May Jibo marrying anyone. Want be Liu Ryan. Old man, are you mad? Do you know who Liu Ryan is? Without her help, your failing company would have gone bankrupt. I don't care who she is. A fickle woman like that isn't worthy of my son. You're high and mighty now." I sneered and hung up. What a dogfight. Old MEI longed for his mistress son, only for him to become a mistress too. Now he remembers me, his other son. I cast that wretched family from my mind, while I reveled in my carefree days. My mother called, saying the Mies send some documents. Property transfer papers, it seems. Is he dying? My mother sighed. Maybe he's old and guilty. I scoffed. Tell him, my divorce settlement is more than hell ever. Not everyone is as stingy to their first spouse as he. My mother murmured. True. He judges Liu Ryan with a villain's heart. As I was about to hang up, she added, oh, Liu Ryan comes for dinner every day. If she has engagements, she sends word. I replied flatly, oh, more often than when you were married. No scandals out there either. I said irritably, Mom, you don't need to tell me this. You don't have to entertain her. To avoid more calls, I turned off my phone. Back in the country, my good friend Kai organized a class reunion, insisting I give him face. Reluctantly, I went. Class reunions never lack gossip. As He and I arrived, we heard Chen Fei's loud voice outside. I knew Liu Ryan and Boda would divorce. Who doesn't change with wealth? Boda must regret it now. Years of poverty and no reward. He should have chosen Li Wanwan. A classmate teased Chen Fei. Are you sour because you couldn't have her? Haven't you seen the news? Liu Ryan's divorce case topped the rich divorce settlement list. It's him, now the richest among us. And don't forget Li Wanwan's still single. Chen Fei unconvinced. Liu Ryan must have done something to betray him. Boda caught her, took her fortune in settlement, but probably cries in secret. At least he cries in a BMW, untouched by wind or rain. Chen Fei stopped meddling. I listened outside, smirking to He. Class reunions are fun. He grinned awkwardly. Let's go in. It's just Chen Fei making a scene. A 10-year reunion isn't easy to pull off. Be the glue, will you? Lawyers sure know how to talk. Without my influence and fame, the turnout wouldn't be this good. I hadn't realized my divorce made the news. When Kai hurried over, slapping my back, why aren't you inside? The room fell silent. Then people rose to greet us. Chen Fei stood at the back biting his lip. When Kai, the class president and organizer, clapped his hands. Tonight we go all out. The richest pays. He slung an arm around me, pointedly looking at me. Applause and cheers erupted. The mood livened up. I smiled helplessly, happy to oblige. Everyone enjoy. He and I had quite a show. Let's not waste it. Halfway through, when Kai, a bit drunk, said, I wanted an alumni reunion. Whoever could come would. But then I thought, forget it. I lowered my eyes, smiling faintly. If Liu Ryan and I hadn't divorced, we could have hosted an alumni event. Liu Ryan and Li Wanwan 2 years below us. As juniors don't quite fit together. A male classmate toasted me, full of admiration. I admire Boda most in our class. Marrying Liu Ryan when the family went bankrupt. Leaving her when she became the richest woman. Who can match that? Everyone laughed and clapped. Well said. So dashing Boda's got character. Chen Fei raised a glass to me. I responded non-committally, unfazed by his words. When Kai, seeing my dark expression, stood to smooth things over old classmates. This is a reunion, not Boda's life critique. Come on, let's hear how everyone spent these 10 years. He joined in shouting exactly. Boda can't steal all the spotlight. And so, the reunion found its rhythm. The atmosphere warmed. I drank until my face flushed. Near the end, a waiter knocked, ushering someone in. When Kai, you're not fair, holding a reunion in Jiangcheng without me. I'm the only host for this. Liu Ryan walked in radiant. When Kai glanced at me, his eyes full of innocence. Great beauty, Liu. Tomorrow's Li Wanji. I thought you were too busy. The classmates burst into laughter. Liu Ryan sat down calmly, self-mocking. No matter how busy, I have to make time, or my husband might really leave me. All eyes turned to me. I was speechless. Her words hinted at lingering attachment, but the divorce agreement was signed. She couldn't deny it. When Kai sensed my discomfort, changing the topic, asking Boda, now that you're so rich, what kind of girlfriend are you looking for? I rubbed my chin, thinking him. Probably a sultry, mature woman. Liu Ryan's face darkened instantly. That night in Li Wanwan's therapy office, she asked the same question. Boda, you have a long future. Have you imagined what your next partner will be like? I tilted my head, thinking, probably someone like a young Liu Ryan. Lee Wanwan touched her nose. Smiling bitterly, you sure know how to hit me. I patted her hand. Speaking frankly, Wanwan, that's my honest truth. You know, loving Liu Ryan took all my courage. As my therapist for 5 years, Lee Wanwan knew this better than anyone. Though doctor-patient relationships are forbidden, I had to root out those thoughts entirely. She sighed deeply. Standing, let's go. It'll drive you back. At the parking lot, I paused. Wanwan, you should move forward. I'm not someone you can wait for. 10 years ago, when I rejected her confession, I told her the same. Lee Wanwan's hands fell. She gazed at me deeply in the night. I looked back until a car's headlights silently hit us. A loud bang. Liu Ryan slammed her door, striding toward us. Jiboda found a new love so soon. Her voice was frosty in the night. Liu Ryan yanked me behind her and slapped Lee Wanwan across the face. Lee Wanwan groaned, stumbling slightly. I rushed to stop Liu Ryan, shouting, Liu Ryan, what are you doing? Why hit her? I deeply regretted my earlier actions. I never expected Liu Ryan to lash out. Liu Ryan's chest heaved. She pulled me, glaring coldly at Lee Wanwan. She deserved it. I clenched my fists, furious, at a loss for how to explain. But Liu Ryan taunted Lee Wanwan is toying with me fun. Lee Wanwan held her face, chuckling, her shoulders trembling. I never meant to toy with you, but I warned you not to use that trick lightly. Not everyone can rise from ruin. I slowly calmed down. My gaze flickered between the two women. When did Liu Ryan connect with Lee Wanwan? What had Lee Wanwan tricked her about? Liu Ryan pulled me to the river bank. She brushed back her wind-tossed hair, glancing at me softly, speaking gently. Lee Wanwan told me you have severe psychological issues. She said only reconciling with your family would make you truly trust me, trust our marriage. Just then Meijibo's show invited me, so I thought I'd try reaching out. Yinchuan was pursuing Meijibo at the time. I worried he was just playing with your brother, so I pretended to be close with him. But now I know Lee Wanwan deceived me. You could never forgive them. All I did was push you further away. So that was the truth behind Meijibo's role. Liu Ryan had long known the cracks in our marriage. Jiboda, they don't matter. I just want to live well with you. Do you understand? Seeing Liu Ryan's regretful expression, I almost laughed. Lee Wanwan had a silver tongue. Those were words she'd say. And sure enough, even the clever Liu Ryan fell for it. But knowing the truth changed nothing. I still didn't regret the divorce. I said coldly, Liu Ryan, thank you for telling me. But we won't walk the same path forward. Our futures are separate. No matter what you intended, the scars run too deep. I've made my choice, and I stand by it. Liu Ryan's face was etched with shock. Her anger flared, almost uncontainable. She gripped my arm fiercely. Jiboda, was my explanation not clear enough? I'll drag Meijibo here for a confrontation. Her voice choked for a fleeting moment. Or do you resent me for being too rich? I'll file for bankruptcy. Stop making a scene. I snapped, I can't afford to gamble. Liu Ryan, it's not that I don't trust you. I don't trust human nature. Do you understand? The path Liu Ryan paved with wealth was littered with bloody lessons and examples. The first wives of tycoons and magnatesho among them found peace. Even their children met tragic ends, while the second, third, and fourth wives lived in splendor, rising to take their place. But I had no need to argue this with Liu Ryan. To her, those were baseless fears. Yet I clung to my motto of living freely and guarding myself. I took a deep breath, telling Liu Ryan, I'm truly happy now. Please let me go. Liu Ryan stared at me, incredulous. Her body trembled slightly. Is reconciling with me so painful, Jiboda? I met her gaze calmly. These past 5 years, not a single day was joyful. Liu Ryan was struck speechless. In the end, we parted on bitter terms. I didn't miss the disappointment on Liu Ryan's face. She must have thought her explanation would fix everything. But I refused to compromise myself with marriage again. I thought I'd been clear, yet I overlooked. Liu Ryan was never one to give up easily. Seeing no progress with me, she began to win over my mother. My mother started coming to my apartment often, cooking for me, acting as Liu Ryan's advocate. as if fearing I'd run off with a sultry woman. Finally, I couldn't take it. I asked exasperated mom, haven't you been a bit too active lately? She widened her eyes, letting out a soft gasp, sheepishly saying, Liu Ryan, do you think I've gotten younger? Liu Ryan got me a beauty card and a gym membership, and enrolled me in all sorts of hobby classes. It's been so much fun. My horizons have widened, and so has my heart. She used to be more anxious than me, always nagging about children and marriage. Now she's so vibrant and positive. Liu Ryan's tactics were truly extraordinary. I got up and went out to meet Joe He for dinner, seeking a moment of peace. After hearing my complaints, Joe He cut to the point. President Liu wants your mom to inspire you to be more optimistic. Her intentions are sincere. Jiboda, aren't you moved at all? His eyes glinted with gossip. I shook my head without hesitation, saying bluntly, not in the least. It's just frustrating. No matter how a marriage ends, it's never perfect. Either you tear each other apart and never speak again, or like me and Liu Ryan, you cut your losses in love, but one side always refuses to let go. So after much thought, I called Liu Ryan, trying to reason with her on her terms. Liu Ryan, if we treat reconciliation as a major investment, I'm telling you, your risk assessment doesn't pass with me. I'm not willing to take the gamble. Liu Ryan seemed stunned by my words. She fell silent on the line. Jiboda, must you define our love like this? Can't you trust me just once? Liu Ryan, I don't believe in this project. That doesn't mean it won't succeed, but I'm willing to pay for my decision, I said calmly. Liu Ryan and I could never go back. After taking that final step toward divorce, I understood this more deeply than anyone. Liu Ryan let out a cold laugh. Jiboda, I feel how desperately you're trying to convince me to let go. Worried about complications. I had nothing to say to that. In the end, I hung up, saying, with the divorce, you gave me the greatest leniency and respect. Now I won't stop you from doing anything. But Liu Ryan, I hope you find peace soon. My mother stood by the door, sad yet helpless. Jiboda, you're so rational it's almost cruel. Leaving her no hope, I said faintly. Perhaps I should never have married. I didn't realize sooner. I was never equipped to bear the weight of marriage. Liu Ryan appeared on Jibo's show again. Unlike her polished elite look last time, she was noticeably thinner, wearing a sleek, sensual long dress. When Kai called to tease Jiboda, Liu Ryan's got a great figure, always in suits before. I didn't notice. Is she afraid you'll fall for a sultry woman? I gave a non-committal shrug. Liu Ryan chasing her exhaustion was no longer news in Jiangshang. Now it was a contest of who'd give in first. To be precise, Liu Ryan was determined to outlast me. Jibo's interview wasn't as relaxed as before, but rather stiff. President Li's style has become quite feminine lately. Liu Ryan replied coolly, self-mocking, no, just wearing it for someone to see. My figure's not bad either. Jibo forced a smile, visibly strained, probing congratulations on a new romance. President Liu, thanks for the sentiment, Liu Ryan said curtly, her words sparing, her demeanor aloof, nearly derailing Jibo's hosting. My mother put on her glasses, watching intently, muttering, Liu Ryan, did she go on the show just to vent for you? I rolled my eyes. Mom, aren't you supposed to be resting? Go get your beauty sleep. Mom stretched and yawned. I'm old. I can't keep up with you young folks. Before entering her room, she looked at me earnestly. Mom, thank you. Seeing you like this makes me truly happy, I said sincerely. Mom patted my shoulder. Jiboda, it's time Mom lived for herself. I'll introduce you to an uncle soon. I lit up with surprise. Really? Mom blushed, a rare